Hulk was one of the most famous characters in the MCU during the early 2000s, even more than Iron Man or Thor. But despite that, The Incredible Hulk is still considered one of the worst movies in the entire MCU. Why? Imagine if Iron Man started with Tony Stark already in the suit, flying around, and they just showed a quick flashback of him being kidnapped. That would be ridiculous, right? That's exactly what The Incredible Hulk did. Instead of making us experience Bruce Banner's horrifying transformation firsthand, they dump it into a 5-minute montage at the beginning. Compare this to Spider-Man 2002. We feel Peter Parker's pain when he loses Uncle Ben. We see his struggles before becoming Spider-Man. Even the Batman 2020 takes its time to build Bruce Wayne's world before diving into the action. But here, we don't get to see Bruce slowly realizing something is wrong. We don't see the terrifying moment where he first transforms. They just expect us to care about a character they haven't even introduced properly. Show Bruce's first transformation in real time. Make it horrifying, like Venom 2018 when Eddie Brock realizes he has an alien inside him. Imagine Bruce waking up after his first Hulk transformation, not remembering what he did, seeing the destruction around him like a horror movie. That would have made us care about his struggle. Instead, they rushed through it like it was a side note. No emotional connection to Bruce Banner. Bruce Banner is supposed to be a tragic character, a man cursed with a monster inside him. But in this movie, he's just there. Edward Norton plays Bruce so coldly that it's hard to connect with him. Compare this to Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark. He made us love Iron Man before he even put on the suit. Even Christian Bale's Bruce Wayne in The Dark Knight had layers. He wasn't just Batman. He had emotions, struggles, and depth. Look at the factory scene where Bruce is working in Brazil. He's in hiding, living a miserable life. But do we feel anything? Not really. Now compare this to Wolverine in Logan 2017, a broken man, hiding from his past, but you can feel his pain. Or even Steve Rogers in The Winter Soldier, a man out of time, struggling to fit into the modern world. Those characters make us care. Bruce in The Incredible Hulk, he's just running from the military with no real personality. Show us more of Bruce's life in hiding. Let us see him struggling to control his anger in everyday situations. Maybe a scene where he almost loses control when someone tries to rob him, something that makes us connect with his pain. Instead, they made him boring. No personality in Hulk. Hulk is one of the most iconic characters in Marvel. But in this movie, he's just a mindless green monster. No personality, no emotions, just a CGI creature smashing things. Compare this to Thor, Ragnarok, where Hulk actually talks and has a sense of humor. Or even Avengers, Endgame, where we get smart Hulk version that actually feels like a character. Even Venom 2018 gave the symbiote a personality. But in The Incredible Hulk, he's just an empty, roaring creature. Remember the scene where Bruce transforms in the factory for the first time? That should have been terrifying. It should have made us feel Bruce's fear of losing control. But instead, they shoot it like a horror movie where you never actually see the monster. This worked in Jaws because the shark was mysterious. It does not work for Hulk because we need to see his struggle. Give Hulk more personality. Even in Avengers, he had character. Remember Puny God when he smashes Loki? Imagine if they showed Hulk looking at himself in a mirror, confused and angry, trying to understand who he is. That would have made him relatable. Weak villain setup. Emil Blonsky is just Hulk but evil. Lazy writing at its finest. Marvel has had some great villains. Thanos in Infinity War, Killmonger in Black Panther, Green Goblin in No Way Home. But then, there's Abomination. What's his motivation? He's just a soldier who wants more power. That's it. Compare this to The Dark Knight. Joker had a purpose, even if it was chaos. Or X-Men, where Magneto's pain made him a villain we could understand. But Abomination, he's just another evil version of the hero, like Yellow Jacket in Ant-Man or Ironmonger in Iron Man. But worse because at least those villains had personal stakes. When we first see Blonsky, he's just a tough guy. When he takes the serum, he starts acting power-hungry. But why should we care? He has no real backstory, no emotional depth. Compare this to No Way Home, where we actually feel for villains like Doc Ock and Green Goblin. Abomination is just another generic bro. Give Blonsky a real reason to hate Bruce. Maybe he lost his family in a Hulk-related incident, so now he's obsessed with taking him down. Something to make us care. Instead, he's just big bad guy wants power. Forced romance. If you've ever seen a movie couple with zero chemistry, it's Bruce and Betty in The Incredible Hulk. Their romance is so lifeless that it makes Anakin and Padme in Star Wars Attack of the Clones look good. Compare this to Tony and Pepper in Iron Man. Their relationship felt real. Even Steve and Peggy in Captain America had a romance that made you care. But Bruce and Betty, they're just together because the script says so. Look at their reunion scene. It should have been emotional, but instead, it's just awkward. Compare this to Peter and MJ in Spider-Man No Way Home, where you feel the heartbreak when they say goodbye. Here, nothing. Either make their relationship actually meaningful or drop it entirely. Bruce being alone and afraid of hurting the people he loves would have been a better story. Instead, they forced this romance with no real emotion, no standout supporting characters. Where's the sidekick energy? Great movies are built on strong supporting characters. Think of how much Iron Man benefited from Rhodey and Pepper, or how Guardians of the Galaxy gave every character a moment to shine. Even Doctor Strange made Wong an instant fan favorite. Now, name a single memorable supporting character from The Incredible Hulk. Exactly. General Ross. Just an angry military guy. Betty. A bland love interest. Abomination? A typical evil version of the hero. The movie doesn't give us anyone to root for besides Bruce, and he's barely engaging himself. Even a movie like The Dark Knight made sure Alfred and Lucius Fox were essential to Batman's journey. Action scenes are only exciting if we care about the outcome. In The Winter Soldier, when Steve Rogers is hunted down by S.H.I.E.L.D., we feel the paranoia. In Logan, when Wolverine is on the run with Laura, every moment feels like life or death. Now compare that to the chase scene in Brazil, where Bruce is running from military goons through the streets. It's supposed to be intense, but the cinematography and pacing make it feel like a filler sequence from a generic action movie. It's just running, no twists, no close calls, no smart tactics from Bruce. Imagine if they had used this moment to show Bruce outsmarting his pursuers in a creative way, like Jason Bourne in The Bourne Identity. Instead, it's just run until he transforms. Make Bruce's escape feel desperate. Maybe he's hiding in a crowded market, trying to keep his heart rate down while soldiers close in. Maybe he almost transforms, barely holding it together. This could have been a nail-biting moment, but instead, it's just another forgettable chase. When the military attacks Hulk on the university campus, it should be a major turning point in the film, but instead, it's just a bunch of explosions with no real emotional weight. Compare this to Man of Steel, where every fight has consequences, or X-Men, Days of Future Past, where every battle could change history. In The Incredible Hulk, the fight is just noise. We don't see any real damage to Bruce's relationships. We don't see the public reacting with fear or awe. Even Betty's reaction is just mild concern. This was the perfect opportunity to make Hulk feel like a real threat to the world, maybe show people recording the fight, news stations freaking out, General Ross realizing he's in over his head. Instead, it's just another CGI battle. What they should have done, show the world reacting. Maybe have a moment where a soldier hesitates, realizing Hulk isn't the monster they thought. Maybe make Bruce beg the military to stop, showing he still has control. Instead, it's a forgettable action scene. Poorly designed CGI Abomination. Let's be real, Abomination looked awful. Compare him to Thanos in Infinity War. Thanos was entirely CGI, yet he felt real. His facial expressions, his movements, even his skin texture were believable. Now look at Abomination, he looks like a blurry PlayStation villain. Even Venom 2018, a movie with a much smaller budget, made its monster look way better. But it's not just the graphics, the design of Abomination is just boring. He doesn't look like a terrifying evolution of Blonsky. He doesn't have a personality in his movements. Compare that to Green Goblin in No Way Home. Willem Dafoe didn't even need CGI to be terrifying. Abomination is just ugly and generic. Give Abomination a more recognizable design. Maybe make him look more mutated, like the T-1000 from Terminator 2, slowly transforming as the fight goes on, or give him some facial expressions to show that Blonsky is still in there, struggling against the monster inside. Instead, we got a soulless CGI creation. No deep motivation for Hulk or Abomination. Why are they fighting again? The best hero-villain fights aren't just about who punches harder, they're about ideology. In The Dark Knight, Batman and Joker represent order versus chaos. In Civil War, Tony and Steve represent security versus freedom. In No Way Home, Peter and Green Goblin represent responsibility versus madness. Now, what do Hulk and Abomination represent? Nothing. They're just a big monsters fighting because they're big monsters. There's no emotional conflict, no deep reason for their fight. Imagine if Blonsky had been a friend of Bruce's, a fellow scientist who wanted to control his own anger but lost himself in the process. That would have made the final fight personal. Instead, it's just big guy mad. Other big guy matter. Give Blonsky a real philosophy. Maybe he believes power should be controlled through science, while Bruce believes it should be avoided. Maybe Abomination keeps part of his human mind and tries to recruit Hulk instead of just fighting him. That would have made the battle mean something. Instead, it's just another CGI slugfest. There are a few reasons I noticed when watching the movie, but you might have more. Drop a comment, and I'll check them out.